Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about my educational journey and my road to a PhD. Okay, so I have been to school for 29 years of my life. I'm not talking about how long I've been alive, okay? I'm talking about actual years that I've spent going to school. Before I get into the video, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and please ring the notification bell so that you are notified every time I drop a new video. The other thing is, please leave me a comment and please smash the like button as well so that this video can reach others. Okay. So let's jump right into the video. So I grew up in Jamaica, and in Jamaica we start school at 3 years old. So that's kindergarten, okay? So I went to kindergarten for 3 years, from age 3 to 6. And then I went into the first grade, okay? Or grade 1 as we call it in Jamaica. So then I did my exam to go to high school. So I have to do a standardized test to get into high school in Jamaica. And in my days, it was called a common entrance. And so I did my common entrance exam at 10 years old and I passed it. You had to pass to get into high school. And so I passed it, okay? And so I spent maybe about 5 years or so, I want to say, and 5 or 6 years. I ended up spending, 5 years, right? So 5 years, because it was from like age 6 to 11, I spent at my primary school, okay? Then I went to high school. So high school in Jamaica is for 5 years, from the 7th grade to the 11th grade, okay? After I graduated from high school, I spent another 2 years in sixth form. So we do use, in Jamaica, they use the British education system, and so they have sixth form, right? So in England, those of you maybe familiar with the British education system, they do have a sixth form, and that's where you take advanced level exams. And so we also have a sixth form in Jamaica. So I went to sixth form for 2 years, right? So that was so we call that grades 12 and 13, okay? After that, I went on to college. I did my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I did that for 3 years. So my college was a 4-year college. So there's some universities, or it was a university really. So there's some universities in Jamaica that are, well, there's one, I believe, that you can go for 3 years. But the one I went to was a 4-year university. So the one you can go to for 3 years, it's the University of West Indies. You can go there for 3 years if you have, I think, 3 A-level subjects, I believe. But I went to Northern Caribbean University, shout out NCU, and I went there for 3 years because I had some A-levels because I did sixth form. So I had some A-levels. So I was exempt from some courses, some core courses. And then I had also decided to do 2 summer sessions every summer until graduation. So after my first year, I did first and second summer sessions. And then after my second year, I also did first and second summer sessions. And then for my last summer, so after my last full semester, I did the first summer session the same summer that I graduated from college. So my graduation was August, and I went ahead and had my I decided to do one course. I believe I had one course left to graduate, and so I did that course I think it was like May into June. Okay, so that was how I got to graduate in 3 years with my Bachelor of Science degree in psychology, and I minored in communication studies also. All right, so after my bachelor's degree, I immigrated to the United States, and I did my master's. I started my master's right away. Okay, it took me 3 years to do my master's degree. I did my master's in public health, and it was a long, stressful, hectic process. Okay, I shed tears, shed blood, I shed sweat. It was like everything. It was really a lot. I really tried to figure out, okay, how can I get out of finishing my thesis, because it was just so hectic. It was really a lot of work, and I did not have as much guidance as I would have liked to have received from my committee members. So they weren't very good at communicating. They weren't very good at giving guidance. They weren't very good at following up with students and even responding to me, at least, when I reached out to them and had asked for guidance. Not even my committee chair. So I had like 3 committee members, and they weren't very good. They didn't help much. So I felt like I was on my own. I felt alone, and it was just not really good. So I did my thesis on diabetes in youth, and I focused on the health belief model as my theoretical framework for my study. And I really just had to just figure it out on my own, right? So I did try to like, okay, can I get out of finishing my master's degree and just go into my PhD with the same university? I looked at everything. I was contacting my academic advisor and just trying to figure out, okay, how do I get out of this? Because it seems as if there is no way I'm going to actually finish it, right? Because I wasn't getting the guidance, wasn't getting the support at all that I needed. But by the grace of God, I did complete it, and I was able to start working in the field of public health. Okay, well, I actually started working in the field a little before I actually completed my master's degree, but that was because I was pretty much, I'd almost finished, right? I'd already done all of my coursework, and I was actually working on my thesis at the time when I got that job. So I will talk more about that in another video. But after I completed my master's degree, I immediately started, like literally 2 months after I completed my master's degree, I started my PhD, and that was in biomedical informatics. Okay, I know that's not what I have my degree in, but hear me out. So I started that. I did that for a year, and I was like, so I did it for, or was it? No, it wasn't for a year actually. I think it was for 1 semester. I did that, and I realized that, okay, biomedical informatics, that's not for me. I didn't really like it. I didn't find the courses that I was taking, or that I took that first semester, I didn't really find them stimulating. I didn't really learn a lot from that, and those courses were, even though it was not like an online program, the courses were online, those courses I took that first semester, and I didn't like that. So I decided that I would just stop doing that. And I decided that I would go do a pre-med program to go to med school. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a medical doctor, and I wanted to really either be a psychiatrist or a pediatrician. So those were the 2 areas of medicine I wanted to get to, go into as I got older. But when I was younger, but as I got older, I decided to actually go into psychology instead, and so forth. And I didn't really think much about, okay, the whole medicine thing after that, right? After I started psychology. I really love psychology, but after my first job, I decided, okay, let me switch to public health. And after I decided to do pre-med, I got enrolled into a program, and by that time I was in New Jersey, and so I enrolled in a program at Rutgers University in New Jersey. Shout out Rutgers. And I did pre-med. After I did pre-med though, I actually got pregnant with my daughter. I'd been married for a while, and I got pregnant I'd been married for like 4 years at that point. And so I got pregnant with my daughter, and I decided that, okay, it wouldn't be fair to my husband for me to actually be going to med school where I wouldn't actually be able to work, and to have not only me to support, financial support, but also to support our daughter. And so I decided that, okay, I am actually not going to bother go to med school. So I decided not to take the MCAT exam. I did finish though the whole pre-med program, so I got my certification in that. But I decided no point in doing studying for the MCAT and taking that, and it was a challenging pregnancy anyway, so I probably wouldn't have been able to get that done either. So I decided that, okay, let me take a few years break, and then just raise my daughter, focus on work, and then I will figure out exactly what I want to do my PhD in, right? Because at this point it was back to a PhD. And so I took a little while. I also had my second daughter, and so I took a little break, and then I went for my PhD. I decided, after doing some research, I decided that, okay, in my state, the state I lived in at the time, which again was New Jersey, that there was really not many options. There weren't many options because there were really just like two universities that offered. New Jersey is a very small state. I think it's the third smallest state, okay? So there weren't a lot of options in terms of if I wanted to go to school in my state, okay? I could have traveled to New York where I was working at the time, but I would have reached home very late after classes, and I really didn't want to do it online. And so I decided that, okay, I didn't have many choices, and I said, okay, the closest thing I can find to public health, where I wouldn't have to travel very far, because I could have done it at Rutgers University, but I would have had to travel to New Brunswick or Piscataway for classes, and that would just not have worked for me because I lived in North Jersey. And so what I decided to do was to apply to Seton Hall University to do for their health sciences program, to get into that. And fortunately I got in, yay. And so that was great, and I started the program, and I started in January. So I started in January of 2015, and I completed it in I think February, I want to say, I think it was like February of 2021. Yes, 2021, sorry. And I I graduated in May of 2021, right? So right in the middle of COVID, I graduated. But the doctoral journey, it was a lot. It also was hectic. It was stressful. By then, I was a single parent, and so I had my two daughters who I was taking care of and working full time, and then going to school in the evenings. So I'd have to, come home, go to class after work, I'd, pick my daughters up, and then had go to classes, and then, or they would stay with someone who picked them up. For the most part, I think I paid someone to actually pick them up from school, and actually just keep them until after classes. So that's what I did most of the time. And then I would go to classes and I'd come home, and of course I had a lot of assignments to do, and then by the time I started my dissertation research, I had a lot of work to do with that. And so it was very, very hectic. It was not easy. I really had to be very disciplined. Okay, so even if there was a new movie that I wanted to watch, sometimes I just didn't have the time to go to the movie theaters to go watch it, right? If there was, my favorite show was on a Wednesday night, for example, sometimes I just couldn't watch it because I was either in class or I had to come home and study for an exam, or I had to do a paper or some sort of group work that had to be maybe on a Zoom call with my team members or something, or would stay back after class and the plan of how we're going to do the work. So that was hectic. And then for the actual dissertation journey, it took me a little while to figure out, okay, what I wanted to do it on, right? So it was pretty clear from the get-go that I wanted to do it on high blood pressure. I have shared on this channel already that my dad passed away from complications due to high blood pressure, and it was very sudden. He had taken his high blood pressure medication that morning, and so he literally just like fainted, and he passed away like an hour later. So that was very devastating. He and I were actually having lunch at the time when it happened, and so it was very devastated. It was very unexpected, and so I knew from the get-go that I wanted to do it on high blood pressure, but I wasn't sure like what area of high blood pressure, right? I've spoken in other videos as well about being very specific with your topic, with your dissertation or thesis topic, right? And so I wasn't sure, but I eventually decided to do it on the beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors, and knowledge and behaviors of high blood pressure in African Americans and their use of home remedies as treatment. And so after I was able to pretty much be specific with my topic, then I had to get into the literature review and just figure out, okay, what were the gaps that I was going to actually try to fill, right? So where were the gaps, and how was I going to address those gaps in my research? So finally figured that out. I had an awesome committee chair, and one of the committee members at least was really very supportive, and so with the help of both my committee chair and that specific committee member, I was able to actually get through the process without too much stress, without too much headache. It was stressful, of course, it's a dissertation, but it really wasn't as stressful as when I was actually doing my thesis research, right? Which is technically usually, right, much less work. But unfortunately, in my case, that was not the case. It was actually more work doing my thesis versus doing my dissertation, just because of this additional support that I got when I was doing my dissertation research. So it does make a difference how much support that you get, right? It can be the difference between being successful and taking 1 or 2 years to do your research versus you being unsuccessful and maybe just taking years and years to complete your study. So for me, I think my dissertation took me maybe about almost like 2.5 years or thereabouts, because the COVID, right? So right in the middle of my study, COVID came, right? And so we all had to deal with that and the stress of that, and just how the changes, right, that happened as a result of COVID. And so I had to deal with that. So we had to pivot, and it was good in some ways, but not in others, right? Because you weren't seeing people as much. I wasn't able to get as much feedback as I normally get, and like from my peers and so forth. I was, though, I think I did one off. We had what we call research forum at Seton Hall University, and at least for PhD students. And I think I only did one research forum in person. The others that I did, I think that was like to for my proposal study, my proposal or methods presentation, but the other presentations that I had to do, including like my results presentation and of course my dissertation defense, those were done online, like via Microsoft Teams, and it went well. It was not as nerve-wracking as actually standing in front of a live audience and actually presenting, right? So you're pretty much just like talking to a screen when you're on Teams or Zoom. So it was easier. That was easier for me. But in terms of the feedback that I would have been able to receive when in person or without COVID and just being on campus every day, it was not the same, right? But it all worked out well and I successfully completed it. So that is pretty much it. That I graduated in May of 2021. It was a great ceremony, even though again it was COVID, and so we all had to wear a mask, and we weren't able to interact, right, with one another as we normally would, or pre-COVID. It still was great, and I'm just glad that I was able to walk because I did have an actual graduation ceremony, because if it was like in 2020, I would not have had that. Okay, so it actually worked out well for me that it took me like 6.5 years to actually complete my PhD. But again, it was well worth it, and I am really glad that I stuck it out and that I did not give up on myself, okay? And that my committee members also did not give up on me. I was a hard worker. I was very disciplined. I did what I had to do. I stayed focused, okay? I did not doubt myself in any way. I literally refused to succumb to any sort of imposter syndrome, okay? I believed in myself. I knew I could do it. And again, the support of my committee chair, and especially one, all of my committee members, but especially one, that was great. I actually had to change committee member, switch out a committee member like 2 different times in the process. So two of the committee members who I started the journey with, I didn't end with those 2 members to get other people to come on board, but it worked out fine. It all worked out well, and I'm glad that I stuck it out. All right, so this video is getting quite long, so I'm gonna cut it here, but thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your love. And again, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to my channel. Please leave a comment below. Let me know your educational journey, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.